Risk Management Topics, October 1st, 2024. Hey everybody, are you ready for this? New fraud fighting rules starting October 1st, 2024. Well, if you're not ready, you better get ready because starting October 1st, 2024, new rules are rolling out to help combat fraud and recover lost funds in the ACH network. These updates, these new rules, they are part of a larger risk management package, and they're here to be able to make the electronic banking world a little bit safer for all the players involved. Well, what's coming? What's happening? Here's what's going to be happening. The new rules, they are going to include codifying expanded use of return reason code R17. We will also see expanded use of the ODFI request for return R06, and there will be additional funds availability exceptions that will be allowed. We will also see the timing of written statement of unauthorized debit. There's going to be some changes on that one. And we'll see a change made to when the RDFI must promptly return unauthorized debits. Now you may be saying, well, Professor, what's changing? Let's start with that codifying use of return reason code R17. You know, the way I like to think of this is I think of this rule as giving your financial institution, the RDFI, the receiving institution, the power to call out shady transactions. Hey, that's a shady transaction. Because if something smells fishy, it probably is fishy. And it's going to allow you to use the R17 code to send it back. But it's totally optional. It's like giving your financial institution a brand new tool that you can use when needed. But it's totally optional. I do mean that. It's optional use. Financial institutions, you'll be able to choose to use the R17 if you think a transaction is fraudulent and if you want to make use of it. If you're going to, though, there is a descriptor requirement, and that's questionable. This rule retains the current requirement to include the descriptor questionable in the return addenda record, so that's going to have to be there. It's going to improve fund recovery, because as we improve funds recovery, it's important to understand that helping to get money back when fraud occurs is something that as financial institutions, when we already know something's up and we want to send those entries back, well, historically, there hasn't been a specific code for that. Well, R17 is now officially the go-to code for suspected fraud. This rule also introduces the term false pretenses. Which basically means tricking someone into making a payment by pretending to be someone else or having fake credentials. But of course, as with all things official, there's going to be a more official definition. Now, this is intended to cover common scams, things like business email compromise, BEC, payroll impersonation. But it doesn't include scams with fake goods or services. We're working about payments. We're not worried about goods and services. That's different. We'll also see expanded use of the ODFI request for return R06. Imagine the originating bank or credit union, ODFI, sending a friendly request to the receiving institution. Hey, RDFI, can I get that money back? Because that's what they're doing. They're asking them to return a payment for any reason. They're going to be allowed to. That's what this rule is going to make possible. It will include indemnification. The ODFI will still indemnify, or kind of hold harmless is a way to think about it, the RDFI for compliance with the request. Now, some optional compliance. RDFIs can choose whether to comply with this, but must respond within 10 banking days of the receipt of the ODFI's request to let the ODFI know that, hey, we're going to honor your request and send this back per your request, or we're not. This helps improve funds recovery when fraud happens by allowing improved and better communication and, I'd say, cooperation between the financial institutions. You know something else we're going to see? Additional funds availability exceptions. See, as an RDFI, you're going to be able to get an extra funds availability exception tool, another one. This is going to be a tool that's going to let you as the RDFI hold on to suspicious funds while you investigate. Picture this like a pause button. letting your bank or credit union say, hold on, this doesn't seem right. You then can delay making the funds available if you suspect fraud. Tools for questionable entries? This is important because they're going to help financial institutions hold funds if fraud is suspected. So it's a new tool. But you still must follow Regulation CC. As a financial institution, you must always comply with existing funds availability rules. It will help also to improve funds recovery. If you can help catch fraud before the money's gone, right? Hey, you already recovered the funds. Currently, financial institutions, you can delay funds if you think your credit entry was unauthorized, like in the cases of, say, account takeover. But this new rule, it adds another layer by addressing payments made under false pretenses. Something else that's new. Timing of written statement of unauthorized debits, WSUDs. The new rule. It lets you sign, or really lets your consumer sign and date a written statement of unauthorized debit, a WSUD, a WSUD, as soon as you notice a suspicious transaction. Whether or not the debit has posted to the account or not, or if it's just pending, but it allows you and your consumer to be able to act right away. Now, this rule allows consumers to sign a WSUD as soon as they spot an unauthorized debit, even if it hasn't hit their account yet. What about some earlier reporting? Consumers can report unauthorized debits sooner. What about preventing harm? With this, it helps stop fraudulent debits before they post to the account. And when a consumer reports an unauthorized debit, the bank or the credit union, well, you have to get a signed WSUD to return the debit. What's going to happen with this rule is it's going to make the process quicker and more efficient. Previously, you had to wait until the debit settled. Now, you can act immediately, making the whole process smoother and faster. And what about this? RDFIs must promptly return unauthorized debits. When it comes to returning an unauthorized debit, think of it as catching a thief in the act and returning the stolen goods as quickly as possible. Yeah, that's what it's like. So here's the deal. What's actually new with this particular rule, this particular part of the new rule? It gives quick returns, or quick returns are going to be required. So the RDFI, the receiving financial institution, they must return unauthorized consumer debits by the opening of the 6th banking day after they complete their review of the consumer's signed written statement of unauthorized debit, their signed WSUD. Why does this matter? Well, it's helping to protect our consumers. That's a big reason why it matters. What we're really going to see is it's going to help with better funds recovery. Faster returns really does mean a better chance of getting the money back and less chance of the fraud being successful. That's something we always want to be on top of. It really serves more like an early warning system because prompt returns, they act like, let's say, smoke alarms, alerting ODFIs, the originating institutions, and originators of potential problems that could be happening. We'll also see some things involving, let's say, first-party fraud. Even if the person disputing the debit is the same one who benefited, a quick return will still help to catch those fraud situations. Well, wait a minute. How does this really help? It helps because it supports originators. It gives them controls, quick returns to back up any holds or delayed shipments the originator may already have in place. Also, I want to say there's no change to the WSUD requirement. The amendment doesn't change how or why a WSUD is needed. It just speeds up the return process. So you still need a WSUD is what I'm getting to. You know the bottom line of all of this? Speed is the key. We live in a world of faster payments, and ACH is making sure to stay up to speed with all of this. In fraud cases, acting fast is crucial. Delaying the return after an unauthorized debit is spotted can leave the ODFI or originator vulnerable to further risk. In short, this amendment is like turning on a fast lane for unauthorized debits, ensuring that you get the returns promptly handled to minimize damage and to keep everybody in the loop of what's going on. So in a nutshell, these updates are all about catching fraud early and acting fast. Quick responses are crucial when dealing with unauthorized debits. A delay can increase risk for everyone involved, so prompt action is key to protecting your institution and your consumers' finances. For now, I have to say, class dismissed.